Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, better known by his infamous nickname Caligula, was one of the most notorious emperors in Roman history. His 4-year reign from 37 AD to 41 AD is remembered as a period of bizarre excess, cruelty, and madness, earning him a reputation as one of Rome's most depraved and erratic rulers. Yet, behind the sensational stories of debauchery and tyranny lies a complex tale that continues to fascinate historians and the public alike. Caligula was born on August 31st, 12th AD, in Antium, modern-day Anzio, Italy, as the third son of the beloved Roman general Germanicus and Agrippina the Elder, a granddaughter of Emperor Augustus. From a young age, Gaius was thrust into the limelight due to his father's immense popularity among the Roman people and the legions. As a child, he often accompanied his father on military campaigns along the Rhine River. It was during these years that he earned the nickname Caligula, which means little boots, because he wore a miniature version of a Roman soldier's uniform, complete with small boots, caligae. Although endearing at first, the name Caligula would become synonymous with one of Rome's most infamous despots. Tragedy soon marred his early years. Germanicus died under suspicious circumstances in 19 AD, widely believed to have been poisoned on orders from Emperor Tiberius, who feared Germanicus's growing influence. After the death of his father, Caligula's family suffered relentless persecution. His mother, Agrippina, and his 2 older brothers were arrested and executed or starved to death by Tiberius, who saw them as potential threats to his power. Caligula was sent to live under the watchful and often malevolent eye of Tiberius himself on the island of Capri. The future emperor witnessed firsthand the depravity and cruelty of imperial politics, experiences that would shape his reign in unimaginable ways. When Tiberius died in 37 AD, Caligula ascended to the throne at the age of 24. Initially, his reign was met with overwhelming joy. The Roman people had long suffered under the paranoid and reclusive Tiberius, and Caligula was seen as a symbol of hope, youth, and renewal. He began his rule with a series of generous and popular acts. He pardoned political prisoners, recalled exiles, and organized lavish games and public spectacles. Caligula even ended unpopular taxes, showering the people with gifts, and promised to rule as a compassionate and fair emperor. Yet this idyllic start would not last. Just months into his reign, Caligula fell gravely ill. Some sources suggest he was poisoned, while others believe it was an epileptic seizure or a severe fever. He eventually recovered, but those close to him noted that Caligula was never the same. The sickness seemed to have triggered a profound and terrifying change in his personality, turning the young emperor into a capricious, vengeful, and cruel ruler. The Golden Age Rome had anticipated quickly turned into a nightmare. Caligula's erratic behavior soon spiraled out of control, and the emperor embarked on a reign of terror, marked by shocking brutality and bizarre extravagance. The most infamous stories about Caligula's reign portray a man who seemed to revel in chaos and cruelty. His sense of humor, if it could be called that, often involved humiliating members of the Senate and subjecting his subjects to bizarre forms of torture and execution. Senators and nobles feared his mood swings, knowing that even a perceived slight could lead to their downfall. One of Caligula's most notorious acts was his alleged plan to make his favorite horse, Incitatus, a consul. Historians debate whether this story is true or exaggerated, but it serves as a powerful metaphor for the contempt Caligula held for the Senate. He hosted extravagant banquets, where Incitatus was treated like a guest of honor, with a marble stall and a jeweled collar. By elevating his horse above Rome's ruling elite, Caligula humiliated the Senate and asserted his absolute power. His personal life was equally scandalous. Caligula indulged in every form of debauchery imaginable, engaging in incestuous relationships with his sisters, most notably Drusilla, whom he reportedly adored, and even declared a goddess after her untimely death. He allegedly forced high-ranking officials to watch and participate in depraved acts, and he would parade his mistresses before the court. Some accounts suggest he even turned the imperial palace into a brothel, compelling noblewomen to sell their services under his watch. Caligula's cruelty knew no bounds. He was fascinated by pain and death, delighting in creative punishments for those who displeased him. He once hosted a lavish banquet, only to reveal that it was a prelude to the execution of several guests. In one particularly horrifying episode, he supposedly ordered the execution of an entire family, beginning with the parents and forcing their children to witness their deaths before meeting the same fate. Caligula's desire for extravagance extended to monumental construction projects. He ordered the construction of massive structures that drained the state treasury, including 2 giant floating palaces on Lake Nemi, complete with heating systems, marble floors, and luxurious gardens. These ships were so extravagant that they were more like floating palaces than mere vessels. In another grandiose display, he built a temporary floating bridge across the Bay of Baiae, reportedly so he could ride his horse across it while wearing the breastplate of Alexander the Great. One of Caligula's most financially ruinous projects was the Temple of Isis in Rome, where he installed massive statues of himself as various gods. He also commanded statues of deities to be decapitated and replaced with his own likeness, signaling his belief in his divine status. His extravagant spending led to economic ruin, forcing him to impose severe taxes and even auction off the lives of gladiators to cover his debts. Caligula's reign was marked by his obsession with divinity. Unlike previous emperors, who maintained a respectful distance from being openly worshipped, Caligula embraced the notion that he was a living god. He ordered temples to be built in his honor and insisted that people worship him as a deity. He would dress as various gods, including Jupiter and Apollo, and demanded that sacrifices be made to him. The emperor's divine pretensions reached their height when he attempted to have his statue erected in the Holy of Holies in the Jewish Temple of Jerusalem. The Jewish population was appalled at this blasphemous demand, and only the intervention of his more level-headed officials prevented a massive uprising. Caligula's actions not only alienated the Jewish population, but also offended traditional Roman religious sensibilities. Caligula's reign of terror finally came to an end in 41 AD, when a conspiracy formed against him. The plot involved members of the Senate, the Praetorian Guard, and even members of his own household. The leader of the plot, Cassius Chaerea, a commander of the Praetorian Guard, had suffered numerous humiliations at Caligula's hands and sought vengeance. On January 24, 41 AD, Caligula was assassinated by a group of conspirators who ambushed him in a corridor of his palace. They stabbed him repeatedly, ending the reign of one of Rome's most feared emperors. In the chaos that followed, Caligula's wife, Caesonia, and his infant daughter were also killed. The Senate briefly considered restoring the Roman Republic, but the Praetorian Guard declared Caligula's uncle, Claudius, as the new emperor. Despite his death, the shadow of Caligula's madness loomed large over Rome, serving as a grim reminder of the dangers of absolute power unchecked by reason. The stories about Caligula's madness are derived largely from sources written by historians such as Suetonius and Cassius Dio, who were writing decades after his death. Some scholars argue that these accounts may be exaggerated, shaped by political bias or sensationalism. However, even if only a fraction of the tales are true, Caligula's reign stands as a testament to the potential for human depravity. Caligula's legacy remains one of fascination and horror. He has been immortalized in literature, film, and television as the epitome of the mad tyrant, a ruler whose lust for power and pleasure knew no bounds. Yet beneath the myths and lurid tales, Caligula's story is a cautionary tale about the consequences of absolute power in the hands of a deeply troubled man. The young boy in little boots, who once delighted Roman soldiers, became a name whispered with fear and revulsion, a tragic figure whose reign left an indelible scar on the history of ancient Rome.